like the strengths and the balances.
Yeah.
That because one co-leader can have strengths in
Right.
one area or have insights in one area and the other does not. So.
Yeah.
Welcome to the D3 Discipleship Podcast, a podcast about the language and tools that help to create a culture of intentional discipleship in your church. We are excited that you're joining us today and hope that you enjoy what you hear.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the D3 Discipleship Podcast. My name is Ray, and alongside me is my co-host, Katie Ketzner.
Good morning, everybody.
How are you today?
It's kind of a crazy morning, and I'm here.
Yes.
I was telling Ray before this, but I rolled out of bed with just enough time to throw on some clothes, and I got to work in time.
Yep.
But then I realized that I forgot my computer, and so I was trying to look around and see, what can I do around here without a computer?
Yeah.
The answer is nothing,
Yeah.
in case you're wondering.
And you don't live close.
I don't. I live half an hour away, so I spent an hour and a half just trying to come to work today.
Mm-hmm.
But among many other little things, I stopped at Starbucks.
Hey.
I need my drink.
Seems like it's worth it at this point.
Kinda.
Yeah.
But then I got up there, and the lady who was taking my order, she wanted to play today.
Oh.
She was rehearsing for a role of some kind. She was a witch.
Oh, my.
So I pull up, and she goes,
Yeah.
"Wah-ha-ha-ha-ha!
Oh, my
Welcome to
goodness.
Starbucks." And I'm like, oh, wrong day.
Not the mood, lady.
Wrong person.
See, I'm getting my coffee so that I can handle things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just all the little things. So I'm here.
The other day I was at a coffee shop and they were doing their fall photo shoot for some of their stuff that they roast. And there was a vampire and a dude dressed in like a fancy top hat and stuff.
So many things about that. They do a photo shoot for things they roast.
Well, it's the roastery, so it's pretty big
Oh.
deal, right? So
That's
they were
what they do.
They were doing a photo shoot with this lady dressed as a vampire. And I was meeting somebody that was bringing their kids, and they sat down by her, and she was like, "I'll move so I don't scare your kids." It was pretty funny. But 'tis the season, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. I love
the
fall.
season. Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's just been crazy.
Well, you know what's another favorite of mine?
What?
Is Q&A.
Oh,
Look at that segue. Man, that was something, wasn't it? And Q&A is what we're going to do today. And so super excited about that.
And you just rhymed too.
Yeah. Hey, why not?
Man,
A poet
I love
didn't know it. But hey, all that to say, man, I'm just zingers today, right? All that to say, the purpose of this podcast is to coach and equip you to lead your best in discipleship. And today we hope to do that by answering some questions. I can say this on the front end, Katie. We have questions.
We do. And
how crazy is that?
oh my goodness, I was reading through them and I was like, oh, that's a good question. Oh, I want to know that answer.
Yeah. So we'll see if you can play Stump the Ray or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's my lifelong goal to stump you. So
I kind of feel that way. Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah. That's right. So here we go. We'll jump in and get going.
Okay. First question is,
Are you like picking the hard one first? Are you like, you're like
I was
scanning
trying
them?
to.
Like,
I was
okay. Yeah.
how do you know? But then I decided to go from the top. So
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Number 1, why is it important that people sign a covenant?
Yes. Why is it important that people sign a covenant? Well, so part of the reason that that's important is that it allows us to have a little bit of accountability for our people as we walk through the remainder of the group, right? So at the beginning, we have each person in our group sign a covenant, and basically that covenant is saying and kind of laying out the expectations of what they're going to be walking through. And so from there, it gives us this opportunity to say, hey, you remember back a couple months ago when we're in a pinch or in a hard place, we can say, do you remember when you signed this? Here was a couple of the things that we were asking of you that you knew on the front end, right? So it kind of gives us an opportunity to say, hey, you kind of knew this was coming, right? And so one of the things in there is just kind of your level of attendance and priority of attendance and making this a priority in your schedule and in your calendar. There's things in there that at some point, if you're not currently serving, we're going to ask you to serve, like just giving you a heads up, like that's what we're going to ask you to do. And then also it kind of goes to this general place of these are some of the things that we're going to be hitting through discipleship and some of the areas that you're more than likely going to see some change or some challenge. And so it, again, gives us an opportunity on the front end to go, hey, this is the expectation. These are the things we're going to be walking through. You can you can often say those things to people, but when it's on a piece of paper and they can see it, and then also they're signing it, you know, and the whole thing that we make you do it in blood is really kind of, no, I'm totally kidding. That's a joke. But
I was like, that must be new.
Yeah. So, but again, you know, there's also this like biblical aspect of a covenant where a covenant is saying, you know, hey, for us, we are going to do this together. And so it's not just the person in the group is signing it for the sake of the leader, but it's like the leader is signing it as well, saying, hey, I'm going to give you, because there's 2 lines on there to sign, right? It's the group member and the leader. So the idea is, hey, as the group leader, I'm promising to you that I will commit you, or I will commit to these things, and I'll walk through these things with you to help you, you know, learn more about discipleship and grow in that. So, yeah.
That's when I knew, when I entered into D group, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a Bible study.
Yeah.
And so I've always said, like, when they pulled out the contract, I was like, oh, this is different.
Yeah, this is legit.
A little more serious than just a Bible study.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And there's that piece of high accountability, right? So we want high invite, high challenge is kind of what we want discipleship to be. And so, you know, unfortunately, what the covenant can do is weed out some folks who at the first, you know, you're hanging out for the first couple of weeks, just getting to know each other. You're not doing anything yet. And like, you're not even telling stories at that point. You're just getting to know each other. And they're like, ooh, this is going to be fun, right? This is what it is. And it's like, you as a leader should be kind of letting them know this is not what it's normally going to be.
Yeah.
Like
this isn't fun at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, this is, you know, we're building a relationship right now. This is not what our groups are going to look like in the future. But then, you know, it's like, hey, here is what it's going to look like. So it gives us an opportunity to present that on the front end.
So what if someone doesn't want to sign it or refuses to?
Yeah, and you know, we kind of hit on this, I think, in our last, what's that called, episode, you know, but I think it's important to talk about again. Like, if somebody doesn't want to sign the covenant, they're kind of showing you how they're probably going to respond to a lot of the change that's going to happen or transformation that's going to happen. And so it gives them an opportunity to, you know, honestly, like, this is terrible to say, but like, gives them an opportunity to bail, really. And because here's the clear-cut expectations. This is what we're going to be doing. And as we talked about last week, you know, I think the thing is, or 2 weeks ago now at this point, right? But if they're not willing to sign it, you're probably going to see that as a pattern. But the other thing is, obviously, there's a conversation there. Like, what is your hesitation in signing this? And then we can kind of go from there. You know, if it's something along the lines of something that we're going to be walking through in discipleship that they're really kind of hung up on, you know, that may give you an opportunity already to have a discipling moment and say, hey, we're actually going to address this, where we're going to really dive into it. And so I'd love for us to maybe continue to explore this. If it's like, I don't agree with anything on the page, probably don't need to be in your group, probably don't need to even be stepping into discipleship at this point. So.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So that's kind of our frontline defense, for lack of a better word, of kind of figuring out, hey, is this really something from that high accountability, high challenge standpoint? Like, is this really something you want to do? So, yeah, those are great questions.
Thank you.
Way to go.
They weren't mine this time. They weren't mine this time.
Yeah, there are other people. That's great. We love it.
Yeah, I'm like, I wasn't saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying, we had people Right questions.
Exactly.
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, do we have to have the same consistent out, or can we have several different outs? I thought that was a great question.
That is a great question. Yeah. And the answer is yes. You can have both. So what I mean by that is, if your group decides, you know what, we're going to do this consistent out, then sweet, that's a win. If your group's going to say, hey, we'd like to try a variety of outs, maybe it's because your group has a couple different passions, right? Like, you have 5 or 6 people in your group, they're more than likely going to have different passions. And so, hey, we're going to go and do this one thing, and then we're going to go and do maybe this other thing that's an out, you know, in some way or another. So both is a win. In this next year, we want to have all of our groups be able to say and voice what is their out that they're doing, right, or have done, and be able to verbalize that. And so, but yeah, so I think there's some benefits to both, right? So there's benefits to the consistency, in that if you are maybe ministering to a family, we have a couple different groups that are right now ministering to foster families. And so they are seeing them once a week or once every other week, I think it is. They're taking them a meal. or providing something for them, and that's giving them an opportunity to pour into that family consistently. But then there may be just simple projects that you as a group are doing that you're trying to, meet a need and share the gospel. That may just be a one-time event. So in fact, here in a couple of weeks, we have a thing that we're doing kind of with our discipling group that's a part of a bigger thing that KCK as a campus is doing, but it's a serve day. But one of the things we're going to be doing is putting in a wheelchair ramp for a house around the corner. So we have this one-time opportunity. Most of the guys in my group are pretty handy. So we're going to kind of take that on as like our project and our out, but then that gives us an opportunity to, share the gospel with this person, invite them to church and different things like that. But it's like, we don't need to build them a wheelchair ramp every week. Right. So there's like this one-time thing. So yes, both are a win. So
also like things could be seasonal.
Exactly.
I can't give a great example right now, but there could be a project or something that lasts for the fall.
Yeah.
And then just whatever you're connected with, like that project could end somehow. So
yes, exactly right.
I feel like I sound real stupid right now.
Why is that? No, you were on it.
The words are just not flowing. I need to chew on some coffee beans now.
It was that lady dressed as a witch. It's thrown your whole day off.
Sorry.
She got to you before the coffee did. Yeah.
But also I was going to add, that I think it's better that you have more projects than no projects, which has been our issue in the past. So sure, if you want to do several different outs, more power to you. Yeah,
and I think, to add to that, like one thing that we're trying to kind of turn the tides on really is like attempting to make sure our groups don't get to that benchmark before they do one, right? Like before they do an out. Like, hey, early in your time together, let's do an out. And then maybe at some other point. So again, if the consistent one starts at the beginning, cool, let's do that. But if you have this opportunity at the beginning and then, hey, we're a couple months in, we're going to do another one, and it's kind of these little projects, again, based on season or based on whatever, that's, again, it's okay too, So. Yeah.
Hold on just a second. I'm going to add a question.
That was a good, oh boy.
My own. I'll add it to the end. Actually, no, I'm going to add it right now. Oh, no, I'm going to add it right here. Sorry. Okay. Why do I need a co-leader?
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Wow. That's another good one. Man, these are good questions. Why do we need a co-leader? So there's a couple of reasons that we need a co-leader. One would just be the simplicity of we're all busy. Life is crazy. Life is busy. And there are going to be certain seasons that you can't be at your group. Therefore, there may be times where your group would not meet for several weeks, right? But if you have a co-leader, that gives you the opportunity for that person to lead while you're gone and vice versa. So, unfortunately, Jake Drummond is my co-leader, right? And there are no, I say unfortunately for him. I'll clarify. Unfortunately for him, because I have a lot of things. We meet on Sunday nights, and I have a lot of other things that are happening on Sunday nights that I have to be at. So it's like, hey guys, Jake's going to lead this tonight, right? And you guys are definitely expected to be there, want to be there, but I won't be there. And so it's just one of those things of like, partnering with me is kind of hard in the way of like, I'm sometimes just not there because of just our schedule and different things like that. But again, Sunday night was one of the only times our whole group could meet. So it's like, we got to make it work.
Yeah.
So that's one great way. Another great thing is accountability. So if you are leading on your own, you can easily put up a facade to everything's great with me, right? Like everything's peachy and perfect and wonderful, and I'm your leader and you guys are my group, right? And so what it does is it gives us an opportunity for that person hopefully to maybe see as your co-leader, like, I think there's something going on, right? Or something that maybe the co-leader can say to you, like, hey, you've shared this with me. I think you really need to share it with the group. Like, you need to show the group your vulnerability,
right?
And what is going on in your life,
because
right?
you can't expect them to be vulnerable if you are not continuing. Right. I mean, you could share your story and then hide everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that gives another opportunity there. And again, there's always so I led a group by myself early in KCK days, and this is I think kind of where I'm fueled that you need a co-leader is because you have these moments where it's like you tell the guys something, or at least in my case, right? You tell the guy something, and then you've got to look up scripture, and you just have this awkward like silence, right? As you're looking up the scripture, trying to find it, and then you open it up and all this, where when you have a co-leader, it's like this opportunity to speak into that thing, and then that one person can be looking while the other person is talking. So it's kind of this like, what's the word? Like harmony, a dance, if you will, between co-leaders to be able to share, and work through the group. So it's not just these awkward moments.
Well, that was my thought was, like the strengths and the balances.
Yeah.
That because one co-leader can have strengths in one area or have insights in one area and the other does not. So coming together as a team, you are semi-complete so that you're able to help others in most areas.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. Yep.
Okay, how do I find a co-leader?
Well, so I think one of the best places to start might be with your campus discipling leader in the context of New City. So what that means is you would go to your campus discipling leader, and actually this happened with somebody just the other day, or like I say the other day, about a month ago. Anyway, the only reason I know this is because they work out with me. But they were looking for a co-leader. They came to the campus discipling leader, said, hey, I want to start a group. These are the guys I'm looking at, but I need a co-leader, right? And then the campus discipling leader was actually like, hey, I've got a great guy for you that could jump in with you. And so they went and had coffee, kind of talked about the people that were going to, be in the group. And the other one actually had somebody that they wanted to invite in the group as well. And the other leader meshed with that and was like, yeah, that'd be great. And so now they have 5 guys and they're rolling. Nice. And so they just started last week. So that's kind of fun. And so I think that's the great way to start. The other way would be, if you, again, I think we talked about this on the deployment podcast. Like if you're coming out of deployment, there might be somebody in your group that you could co-lead with. The other awesome thing is when you have 2 leaders of a group and they break off with the people that were in their group and they go and lead a group, right? So there's that connection already there. You got the relational equity built. Yeah. It's like, let's go. And so the strengths and different things like that. But that's another great way to look for those folks.
That's special when you can do it within your group.
Yeah.
That was fun. But I'm kind of in this spot right now is finding a co-leader to start a group. And Jacob is our campus leader, discipleship leader. And so they gave me a list of who all is possible, but then like when other people are coming to him, like he knows, okay, these people are looking. Yep. Can we match these with these people? So he's been really helpful in that, in just giving me names or having them contact me and like see. So
that's awesome.
Someone reached out to me and we're going to go have coffee
soon.
Yep. But this is my question that I was asking. This is what I was thinking about the last day or so.
Yeah.
What do you talk about in this meeting? So, here's this potential person that I'm going to lead with. We're going to coffee. What do I say? What are things that I need to look for during this meeting? What are things that we need to talk about, to ask? Like, because I'm just like, okay, cool. We're having coffee.
Yeah.
Now what?
No, that's a great question. So I think one of the first things would be like, or a question for you, right? And maybe you want to answer it now, maybe not. You can think about it. But how well do you know this person, right? And so how much time have you spent with this person? And so it may be even that it's like just to get to know you, right? And then obviously maybe you've already had the conversation, hey, I'm thinking about leading a D group and I'd love to sit down with you. So there's that. And so I think there's a piece you need to talk about that in some way or another. And so,
let me take that.
So a couple questions you could ask them is like, how many groups have you led? Just some basic, just kind of D3 information. Like, you could ask them what their APEST is, and then maybe see how that goes with yours. Again, that goes back to how well you know them, right? If you don't know them well, that maybe is a weird question. Like, hey, I need to know your APEST before we can like further this conversation, right?
But if they're in, especially New City, or if they've been through our discipleship process, that's not a stupid question.
Yeah, I mean, we use that language enough, right? They're going to know it. And so, I think, the other questions you can ask is like, people of peace, do you have anybody that you're looking at? Do you know these people that I have? I would definitely like come with maybe even a written list of those people. I think back to when Jake Drummond and I started this group that we're currently doing. I sat down with him and I said, hey, here's the guys I have, and I'd love for you, like one of them he didn't know. And so I said, hey, obviously I'd love for you to go grab some coffee and get to know him. And he did. And he was like, yeah, this is a personal piece for me. And so I think there's those simple things that you can talk through.
Sorry, I'm not texting. I'm
she's taking notes. Yeah. So
and things that I kind of thought of as you were speaking, like you can ask, what are your hopes for this group?
Yeah.
Or like, what are some specific things that you did in your group that you would like to imitate in our group, or like activities or outs, or I'm making my
She's
list.
writing that down as she's saying it, by the way, everybody. If you're not watching on YouTube.
Answering my own questions.
Yeah. While you're writing that, I'll give a YouTube plug, right? So we're on YouTube. If you want to watch that, you can look up D3 Discipleship and we'll find us on there. And you can see us as we're talking. In addition to
real exciting
audio.
Watching me take my notes.
Yeah. We'll probably cut that part out. No, I'm totally kidding.
Okay, so the next question, how do I prepare someone to deploy that is from a different church?
Ooh, okay. So it's going to look the same, but really more of the follow-up is going to be different. So what I mean by that is we're going to deploy them just as we would anyone else. We're going to give them the resources, like they've earned that, right? But from there, it's like they're not going to be a part of New City's culture or New City's church or churches. And so it's like, okay, you're going to go and do this at your church, right? Which probably doesn't have D3 in place, more than likely.
Yeah.
And so the challenge there is, okay, do they feel like they could bring it to their church in a way, one of two ways. Either they go to the leadership of the church and say, hey, I've experienced this thing, D3, it's discipleship, it's
that'd be
cool stuff. Like, I'd love to share that with you, and maybe we could start it. Or the other option would be that they just gather some folks at their church and say, hey, I'd like to take you through something that I've experienced over the past 12 months or whatever.
That'd be kind of scary.
It would be, yeah. But it would be like that's kind of their next steps, right? And so, and then the other piece to look at that is just, you know what, we've equipped this person and we've sent them out to just be a better disciple of Jesus. It doesn't even mean that they maybe have to re-lead or do that again, but the hope would be that they find somebody to pour into. And so, but yeah, from the deployment standpoint, we're deploying them just as we would anybody else. We're going to celebrate it in that deployment party, all those different things. I think it's more the next step from that.
Do you teach them how to ninja disciple?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's
like, even because people like me, if I were at a different church, number one, I probably wouldn't be going to leadership.
Right.
Let's just be real.
Sure.
Hey,
sure.
I did this. You need to do this now.
Yeah.
You should try this.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if I would be brave enough to be like, hey, let me do this with you guys.
Yeah.
A group.
Sure.
But I could do a one-on-one.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of something that's happening now is like my cousin's in town.
Yeah.
And so I brought her to our women's fireside worship night.
Oh, cool.
And she really enjoyed it. She's going through a lot right now. And that spoke to her. And then like I was dropping her off at where she was staying and she was like just letting out. And I was able to use some of the things that I learned in discipleship just to speak to her.
There you go.
So just preparing that person that you're deploying.
Yeah.
Hey, you can use this information in a lot of different ways. And here's how you can use it.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to walk through the shapes.
Right.
But here are some things, if you're hearing this from that person, identity or whatever else, Jesus is the Lord, whatever else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hope is that we've given them tools and prepared them just to be a for lack of a better word, better follower of Jesus, right? A stronger follower of Jesus. So, hey, that's awesome that you went through this with us. We'd love for you just to go and share that as much as you can with others.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Yeah. Next question, which I think is equally as great. How do I lean into someone who is engaged in the group but not in the church?
Ooh.
That's
okay.
Whew.
Man.
I'll let you answer that one.
It's generosity ladder time.
Oh, really? Is that what it means?
Yeah. So we can use the generosity ladder from the standpoint of our money, but we can also use the generosity ladder from the standpoint of service, right? And so we could bring that into the mix. We could begin to have the conversation about that. I'm hesitant to say this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it.
I was going to say, now you have to.
I think people, and I totally get that this is an I think statement as I'm saying it, right? But I think most of the people who are engaged in discipleship are typically engaged in the church. Like they have kind of shown themselves as someone who we desire for them to come into discipleship. I think that's where the high invite piece of our discipling comes into play. But at the same time, going all the way back to the covenant, there's a thing on the covenant that says like kind of an expectation of service within the context of the church, whether you're at New City or not. And so you're kind of, as you're signing that, you're saying, I'm going to be a part of the church. And I'm going to serve. But at the same time, I would bring out the generosity ladder as a tool just to say, hey, from my tool belt, what do I have to use? That would be the generosity ladder. And so from that standpoint, if you look at the generosity ladder, there's the first time giver, right? But then that's also the first time server. Like, hey, I haven't been serving, but now I'm going to serve. And then there's that next piece of like committing to the church and being on a regular rotation of service. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I'm a part of a team and doing those things.
Okay. This might be the stumper time. I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Let's go
for it. But I'm just thinking about, okay, so we say that anyone can be discipled, right?
Yep.
So the person at your work, your friend, whatever else, anyone can be discipled.
Yeah.
So what if you are walking with someone who, isn't yet a member at a church or like a faithful attender?
Sure. It's a great question.
I mean, I guess you can still try to prod them to take their next step into
prod
church.
Them. Are you getting cattle prods out in your D group? Man, things are getting serious. Zapping them.
Yes.
Yeah, you're going to church. So I think some of that comes back to the phrase, right? Like belong before you believe. So there's this opportunity to disciple them towards things. So I think one of the things would be disciple them towards participation within the context of the church. Like you want to grow your relationship with Jesus, here's another great place for you to do that. It would be the church. Yeah. So I think we get an opportunity to speak into that, right? If they're willing to step into a discipling relationship, then there's the truth of we get the opportunity to speak into their life. So encouraging them to be a part of the church.
And you're always trying to get them to the next step.
Yeah. Right.
Like
exactly right.
It doesn't have to be this big jump.
Yeah.
And so it could just be, okay, I think your next step would be this.
Yeah.
Like baby steps to getting them to.
And if you've got that group, like I think about if you've got that group around them that is kind of speaking into of what they're seeing and experiencing at church, I think there is a draw to, hey, I want to be a part of that, like the community and fellowship that you're experiencing. So.
Okay. How do I know if I need to go through another D group versus co-leading with someone experienced when I don't feel competent?
Whoa. Okay.
I feel like whoever wrote this is listening to me speak.
No, so I think we talked about in the deployment podcast, right, that most people by the time they are not deployed, that they kind of know that. Right. So I think there are some people that maybe are deployed, but they know that they're not strong in certain areas. So I think they can have an opportunity to do a couple things. They can grow in themselves. Like they can begin to maybe listen to podcasts or look, they have now the resources in their hands that might help with their competency, if you will, make them feel resourced. But I think that kind of depends on the person. Like, I think that's where a campus discipling leader comes in and says, hey, or a deployment party rep even says, hey, you mentioned that you don't feel strong in these areas. Mm-hmm. You might want to find a leader that is. If somebody doesn't like confrontation, for example,
whoa,
Katie, they might want to find a leader that
Can.
Can.
Who likes fighting?
And, well, yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, like can speak into those things. I think that's, yeah. I don't know if I answered the question well, but yeah.
So the people who are not being deployed,
yes,
we already know
that
they're not, and they already know that they're not.
Right.
So like the question, does this mean, like, does anybody really go through D group again? Because it says, how do I know if I need to go through another D group? Is that common? Here's my question, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know at least for our campus, and I think this is true of Shawnee as well. I don't know right offhand for Edgerton or Raytown, but there are folks who have decided, you know what, I would rather do this again than lead for the sake of just getting a better grasp on it. And I don't think that's anything against who their leader was. But for example, we have one person that their leader actually left in the middle of their group. So they didn't get the full experience, right? And so they're like, I want to go and do that again. Another individual was being and we've kind of taken care of this problem, so I don't know if this is a problem anymore, but like they were being discipled one-on-one, but then they also wanted the group experience. Like they saw the value and the benefit of the one-on-one, but they were like, I really want to try this in a group and see how that dynamic looks before I lead a group.
Yeah.
Right? Which is some smarts there. That's like some wisdom. And so from there, they stepped into the group and did that for the full season to check out a group. And so, but the fun thing is that you have another person in the room that has the language and tools. Like they have the language and the methods, right? And so they can kind of help to speak into that. And so I think that's a conversation too on the front end as a leader to go, hey, I have this person who's already gone through discipleship, but they're still like just building their confidence and their competency. But at the same time, there's moments where that person gets to speak into things as though they were leading the group. It's kind of this, walk with you kind of season, if you will, for that particular person, just to help them feel more confident.
This is a very interesting question to me, and I feel like we could speak a lot more on it.
Yeah.
Number one, if going through D group again was an option, I'm a little mad that I was not allowed to. I just want to put that out there because I begged to stay in D group.
Now there's a difference in wanting to stay because the people are awesome in your group and needing to go through again for the sake of
I didn't feel
knowing
ready.
the things.
I did not feel ready. I did not feel like I could teach it.
Well, then I ask you to co-host a podcast. Now you know all the things. Now you're ready.
I'm very qualified to be here, guys.
You are. It's true.
Yeah, is there ever a time where a leader would be like, I think you would benefit going through this again with someone else? Or I guess coming down to the end of like where deployment is, you can either maybe have that conversation, if that's even a conversation, or like my leaders did with me, they were like, Katie, you know this.
Yep.
You can do it.
Yep.
And it's just, honestly, it's me, guys. It has nothing to do with the process. It's definitely me. I don't feel confident in anything. So they were like, that push was also kind of probably what I needed. Rolling my eyes because I still don't like it.
She is. She's rolling them real big, actually.
But, that's where that comes in, and you as a leader can speak into that and be like, hey, I know you don't feel confident in this.
Yep.
I will walk with you. We have coaches. That's what coaches are in place for.
Right.
We have resources.
Yes.
So like, you're not alone.
Yes.
We will still be here to surround you, to help you.
Right.
But you can do this.
You can. You can, Katie.
Another eye roll. You can't see it.
Yep. You can do it. You can do it. And I think you mentioned it, like when you get to that point of deployment, that's where you're honest with them of, hey,
no other time.
Yeah.
Just then.
Right. Yeah. that last like kind of honest conversation of, hey, I'm not 100% sure that you're ready. And so my advice, you see, the fun thing about that though, is we're giving them a growth plan. We're giving them steps to take. We're saying, hey, doesn't mean not yet. Or it means not yet, right? Like we're going to get you to the point that you're ready to do this and feel confident in it.
But going back to, is there ever a time where we say, I think you would benefit from doing this again, but maybe with someone else because I don't feel, can you be honest and say, I don't feel like you maybe reword this. I don't feel like you got much from me.
Yeah.
As a leader.
Yeah. I mean, that's a little bit of humility as a leader, right? To say, hey, I think you could benefit from someone else, and in reality, there could be like a little bit of a personality clash. There could be a little bit of a just, we don't mesh 100%, but again, some of the stuff that we've put in place helps alleviate that more than it used to. So, yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, that was a good question.
Man, it was good conversation.
These are good.
Okay. How do you disciple someone significantly older or more experienced than you? Ooh. That is a good one too.
Yeah. So my advice, I have someone in my group right now that could be my father, like age-wise.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And we joke about it often in the group, But there is this piece of the humility to step into discipleship is the humility to step under that leadership. Now, I think there's an interesting dynamic of I'm also their pastor, like in full transparency, right? There's this thing of like, I'm already submitting to you as my pastor. So therefore, I can submit to you in D group. But I think there is this piece of when a person has this humble heart to be and experience discipleship, they want to grow closer to Jesus. And so I don't think they often look at it as like, I think they come from the humble side more than the I have more experience, the prideful side, right? So we're even talking about that this week in James, like the proud versus the humble, right? Yeah. And so I think in humility, they step into it and go, I can learn from you, or I can learn from the system that you're going to show me, even if they're like, I'm not 100% sure I can learn from you, but I can learn the system and then I can learn from that. All that to say, there's also the experience piece, right? Where you'll get pushback. I've had people younger than me who say they have more experience discipling, and then you get pushback, right? From like, well, this is not how I've done it. Well, it may not be how you've done it, but it is how we do it at New City. It's how we do it in D3. So yeah, but they may chime in and give you their advice or their word, but it doesn't mean that they can't learn from you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that would be interesting, just getting them in the group. Yeah. Because me as a leader, as a younger leader, not young adult, as I've clearly been told many times, but as a younger leader, I don't know how that would look. Like, is the older person coming to you and asking? But again, I guess that's where humility comes in, but I don't feel like I see that often, like an older person coming to me saying, hey, lead me. Yeah. Or me going to an older person saying, hey, let me lead you.
Right.
That feels...
Yeah, I think it's I think there's this place where with a person older than you, you can come to them with, I've experienced this thing and I'd love to journey through that with you. More so than I'm going to lead you. Do you see the difference?
That they're journeying the same kind of issue, or?
Well, no, like we're going to walk through this thing together and learn from it, more so than me leading you so that you can learn all this wisdom and knowledge and power that I have.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like we're going to walk through this thing and see this thing together. Though I have, it's going to be a weird way to put it, but I already have the knowledge of D3, but I want to now walk with them to lead them in D3.
Like, I've been through this. You haven't. Let me show you the road. Like,
let
me show you what this process is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're coming at it that way, it seems
and again,
less weird.
Showing them and giving them, and you can do this with people who are older than you, younger than you, right? Like, this is what how my life is different because I've been in discipleship. Mm-hmm. And again, I think there's this piece of like, no matter how old you are, you hunger for being closer to Jesus. Mm-hmm. And so therefore you can speak into that of going, I would love for you to do this so that you can draw closer to Jesus. Mm. And I'll add this final little tidbit. Like, that person that's in my group right now has been, over the past couple of weeks, or even multiple times as we've just taught tools, has been like, I'm thankful for this. Like, I'm glad I'm here, right? Because I am taking things on and learning things that I mean, applying in his workplace, applying in his family. Like, it's just cool to see, right? And it's like, that's the benefit of it right there. That's why we do it.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about older people in our church who that could apply to. And I'm like, my mom hasn't been through discipleship. I was like, I can disciple my mom. Turn the tables.
I don't know if I'd recommend that.
No, I know. Don't we advise against that?
Yeah, that could get a little hard there.
Holy moly, can you imagine?
Yeah. Well, I'll say, I mean, I've, I don't think my dad listens to this. Maybe he does. I don't know. But like with my parents and with even Abby's parents, there have been moments where we've said or felt like, man, this is a discipling moment, right? But it's like, you're my dad, you're my mom, you're not,
But some people have that relationship.
You might listen. Yeah. Yeah. There's opportunities to disciple your parents. It's just, got to be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that, but also I'm looking back at like, how would this work? But I think I don't know. Yeah. I feel like my mom, like she's seen my growth.
Yeah.
Like she saw it firsthand, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think she might listen.
Yeah.
Just because she's like, oh.
Yeah.
I've seen this growth and let me learn what this is about. And this is a comfortable area. Like,
so you just made a great point, right? Because I'm reminded of the scripture that talks about like, they will know us for our fruit. And so your mom can look at your fruit and go, wow, Katie's different, right? And who knows you better than yourself often, sometimes even is your mom, right? So she could go, wow, you are in fact different. I see that fruit in your life. And that may give you an in, if you will, to have that conversation of like, here's why I'm different, even from the standpoint of just the simple foundational thing of hearing the Lord and doing something about it, right? Like, Katie, why are you different? Well, here's why I'm different.
And you're talking about with older people, just saying like, let me walk with you. Yeah. So it could just be like, hey, this is what I experienced and this is why. Right. Let me show you what the tools are and what we do.
Yeah. She's pondering that one. I don't know.
I don't know.
I tell you what, you be the guinea pig and have your mom in your group and let's see how it goes. We'll do a case study.
I'm also now looking at the reasons why this may not work.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Maybe
something to think on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, what is an acceptable reason to miss D group? Holy moly.
Woo.
Let me just say, this can be a hard one.
Man.
Especially with I don't want this to be like sexist or anything, but like I feel like with women a lot, like I don't want to get in trouble, but they're like the main person taking care of kids, like doctor's appointments, soccer games, all of these things.
Yep.
So I feel like there's a lot more excuses for them to miss. And like you seem like a terrible person and be like, that's okay, that's not okay. Like, ooh, this is sticky.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's a hard line to walk, right? Mm-hmm. And I will say we have come from a place and a season of it. It was like, unless you're bleeding or dying or vomiting, then you need to be there, right? And it's like, okay, I think there is some balance to that. And I also would say, like, for me, there is an order of things, and the order is God, family, then like my ministry and church, right? So there are certain things that I don't think you need to miss out on in your family because you're at D group.
What are those things, though?
Like if your kid is performing in something, or your kid is a main lead in a play, or your kid has a soccer game that like, so here's where this tension is. Mm-hmm. The tension is, how often are you missing? Is this a once, like every 2 months, or is this like the extreme would be every week, right? Like, oh, I can't make it again because we got this. Oh, I can't make it again because I got, there's a point where, yes, you have this uncontrollable thing of, say, a soccer schedule, right? And your kid has a game every Monday night. Then I would say, I'm meeting on Monday nights. I'm okay with you missing once a month to go check out this game or go to this game. But if you're missing every week, then maybe we just need to work together as a group to find a different night, or maybe this isn't the season for you to be in discipleship.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like either if your group can move days.
Right.
But again, that's hard because you don't want to set that standard for every single person.
Yeah.
So they can plan something and we'll just move the night.
Yeah. So
I want to set that standard.
Yeah. There's a guy in my group currently. He has Chiefs tickets, right? We meet on Sunday nights. I mean, I even mentioned earlier in the podcast, like there are nights where I miss, right? I have things that I'm going to do. And so what we've done with the Chiefs tickets and the season and different things like that is there have been certain nights that we've just canceled altogether because it's not of value for two people to be there. We can't teach a tool. We can hang out and do that. If we want to do that, that's fine, right? But what we've done is on those, there's a couple nights that it's 7 p.m. is the game. Obviously, he's going to be gone. So we've moved it to the afternoon. You see, there's the flexibility now to make this work. And so I think it's different for every group, but I think the big key kind of thing to figure out in that is like, why are we missing and how often, right? And so the question was, why are we missing? Well, again, family things that are like once every so often that like, this is the only night and I have no control over the time. But if it's like you're getting a phone call right before the group and, oh, I'm so tired, I don't know if I can be there tonight. Those are some of the best nights to be at D group.
Yeah. Yes.
Because you can just pour out your stuff. Like, here's why I'm so exhausted. Here's why I'm so beat, why I'm so just blah. And like,
I think that's a sign too, because like there have been some times where like there's a worship night at church or something. And I'm like, I wanted to go, but then when it comes to it, either like, I just don't feel like going. Yeah. But the nights that I push myself to go are the nights that I get the most from it. Yeah. And so I've learned to recognize like, why am I like so reluctant to go? Yep. And I think it's Satan trying to keep me from my growth. Yeah. So recognizing that, also push through it. Yeah. Because that's where freedom comes.
Right. And so I think there's some flexibility to that. You as a leader have to kind of evaluate like, what is the depth of this? What is the real? I think there's also a reality to this. Abby and I had this conversation. There's a reality to someone asking if they can't be there and telling you they won't be there. Right? So they're saying, hey guys, here's what's going on. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make it. How do you feel about that?
Do a lot of people do that?
I feel like it happens in our household.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah.
Good for you.
More so than, hey guys, I won't be there. Like,
and how do you set that up? Because I feel like there's more respect there then.
Well, and I would say, I mean, sometimes you do get that, hey, I won't be there. Like, got kids throwing up all over the place. I won't be there. Like, that happened a couple of weeks ago for us.
I feel like that's all I get, though. Or all I got was, hey, I'm not going to make it tonight. Yeah. No reasoning, no.
So again, the fun, hard conversation, right? Katie's like, oh my gosh.
Discipleship is so much fun, guys.
Sitting with the group and going, hey guys, here's the deal. Like, this is a priority in our schedule. Yeah. We know it. I understand there's uncontrollable things. The other thing was this. I think we got this question in our last season, and I'll address it here because it works perfectly, is if you can't make it, please text just us as leaders.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Don't send it to the whole group.
That creates a storm.
Put me in a position of going, well, I gotta fold on this one, or I gotta hold up on this one, right? And so that's kind of a standard even you could set at the beginning. Like, hey guys, in our communication, here's how we need to communicate.
Well, and just this whole topic in general, I think would be a good conversation to have at the beginning as a group, because, the things, I learned this as a teacher. So the things that like you can bring the students in to help make decisions are the things that they will stick to more because they had a part in making that rule or that decision. Right. So maybe having that conversation up front saying, okay, we understand that there will be nights that will be missed, but let's talk about it now. Like, what is a good reason? Yeah. what is a not great reason?
Right.
How should you go about it?
Yep.
Stuff like that. That way you don't have to deal with it on the back end and like try to figure it out as you go.
Right.
Like everyone knows, number one, they know right up front.
Yep.
I should not be missing for this or whatever.
Yeah.
Good conversation to have.
Yeah. And just to add to that, like, don't put your family on the back burner for the sake of discipleship. In other words, don't miss a concert or a once a semester thing.
But
because
it's just such a fine line.
Oh, sure. Because you can easily get into the rhythm of, well, we got soccer games then it may not be the season.
Everything can become important, especially if you don't want to go in general.
Right.
You can make it anything an excuse.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's where you as leader kind of have to evaluate, like, what is the reasoning behind you not being here and all that.
Oh, man.
Hey,
it's like
leadership is responsibility. That's they're one and the same. They are the same word, just different.
I feel like I'm on a roller coaster right now. Like I get excited to lead again, and then we talk about stuff like this. I'm like, oh, no. And then I go on a high again, and then I go, oh.
You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great.
Okay, how do you lean into areas that need to be addressed but aren't brought up by the person who needs to hear it?
Whoa.
Let's unpack that again.
Yeah, let's do that, please.
How do you lean into areas that need to be addressed but aren't brought up by the person who needs to hear it? Okay. So that's like you're the leader.
Yep.
And my friend Sally, she is talking about...
Do you have a friend named Sally?
I don't, actually.
All right. Anyway.
She brings up something about generosity, and I'm not currently giving.
Sure.
So that's the setup, right?
Yeah.
Lean into areas that need to be addressed, but aren't brought up by the person who needs to hear it. Okay.
Yeah, so I think what they're saying is if you're seeing that in that person, but they're not talking about it.
Yeah.
Like if they
Sally's bringing up generosity,
yeah,
and I'm not giving. So I need to be the one talking about it, but right? Is that how the question is?
I don't know. Wait.
How do you lean into areas that need to be addressed?
Yep.
But
need to be addressed.
Brought up by the person who needs to hear it.
Oh, okay. So I take that as you're seeing this thing in that person's life, but they won't talk about it.
But the topic has been brought up.
Well, okay. So I think you can take a general sweep to the group, right? And then so with generosity, you get the opportunity to ask them, like generosity ladder, we're going to pull that out. And then the question comes out of that. Really, the truth is revealed in that tool because you're asking them to plot where they are.
Forced participation.
On the tool, right? So if they're not giving, they're hopefully going to tell the truth, and they're going to plot themselves as haven't given. So then we can provide opportunity through Scripture for them to see the reason of why they would need to give, right? So I would say, like with identity, this is where the tool belt comes in of going, like, I see this thing, we need to talk about it. I think what we have to be cautious of is this fix-it mentality of going, well, I see this, and this in your life, but the Lord's doing something else in their life. Like the Lord's bringing them to awareness in the area of identity, but I really want to fix their marriage.
Yeah.
Well, hey, if we can begin to fix their identity, guess what the Lord's going to do? He's going to begin to work in their marriage. So it's not like if the Lord's working on identity with them, let's go there. Let's do that. Let's work on the identity piece, and then we'll worry about fixing that other piece.
That's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. But the fun thing is, in the context of our year together, 8 to 12 months, right? Like we're going to cover all those. We're going to try our best to get into every part of your life. And that's why we've created it the way we have.
Just knowing me, I'm like, I just want you to see this where you're wrong.
Where you're wrong. Yeah. Yeah. But the fun thing is we point them towards Scripture that then shows them that, not you going, hey, you're wrong.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I've been hearing you say that 8 to 12 months is the anticipated expected timeline.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So the phrase I use is 8 to 12 months. It can be more, but probably not less. Right. So I did kind of this evaluation of a group. I think it was 6 people, maybe 7 in the group, including leaders. And if you do all the phases in that timeline with that amount of people, it's about 8 months. So really it's going to take probably 8 months at minimum if everything goes perfectly, right? Which, as we know, never does. And so, or if you have a big topic that you're going to camp out on for a couple weeks or whatever, right? Things happen. So it's more than likely not going to be 8 months. I don't know of anybody recently that has done that. Right.
And I think if you are coming up on 6 months and thinking that you are finished, I think that would be a good, and knowing that this is kind of our general timeline, I think that would be a good opportunity for you to go to your campus discipleship leader or a coach and be like, hey, I'm wrapping up, but it's only been 6 months.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Or like, let someone else speak into that.
What
that
did
can
I
either
miss?
Say, but I mean, we also have some leaders who I don't know how to put this, like they're spiritually sound, but they just haven't gone through the process. So like it can.
Yeah, there might be an expedited version a little bit.
Yeah. There's exceptions.
Right.
So, but just having that person speak into like, okay, I see why you're saying this, why you think this. Here are some options that maybe you're missing. I think having someone as a sounding board is never a bad idea.
There you go. Exactly. So I think like a testament of this is even our residents, like who want to plant a church in the next year to 5 years, right? Like they're going through a discipling group right now, and they've been in it for, well, I'm not sure how long, but it's going to be about 8 months for their timeline. Right. So there's an expedited version, but I think when you break it down, really, it's like you should be probably in that ballpark. Yeah. And I think part of that we see is like some people tend to take curriculum and go, well, I'm just checking the boxes, teaching this thing. And that's great. But like really on most of the tools, you should be camping out a couple weeks, right? Because you're going to kind of walk them through that or, talk about it. And then from there, you're hopefully going to teach them that at some point, like what we just did. Right. So there's at least kind of 2 weeks in on most of the tools. So but all that to say, the average is probably 12 months or 13-ish or so, maybe 11, somewhere in there.
Or 24. You never know.
Then, I was about to say, and then we have some groups that go much longer. I would say probably 24 would be your max. Like if 2 years, if we're at a place that we're not getting it, what do we need to do? When
all your people keep finding reasons not to come.
Yeah.
Like we just talked about.
Exactly.
There's always an excuse. Yeah. So that pushes it out.
It does.
Anyways. Okay. Last question.
Okay.
Do you teach the benchmarks, then do them?
Yep.
Or do you do them and then teach them? So we kind of have talked about like ninja discipling. You're walking through a circle without telling them this is a circle.
Yep.
And then teaching them the circle. So in regards to outs.
Yes. So I think it's both. I know that's a very, very easy answer, right? But so abiding, as we're going through stories, hopefully we're starting to talk about some kind of reading plan we're going to do or something we're going to read together, or, we're starting to pull out some identity scriptures or whatever, different things like that. So we're starting to read through the word, but I think there is a point, obviously, we need to teach the group what we've just done or why we've done it, right? So why have we done it? Well, we've showed them the pathway at the very beginning, like this is what we want to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And then there's that benchmark of abiding. So we need to now teach them why that benchmark is there. So we're going to teach it and then we're going to do it. So, but the out is like the purpose of the benchmark is really for us as leaders to sit and look at our group, assess our group, and go, have we done this before moving on?
So I don't know if I remember this, but have we talked about that you do show the pathway?
Yes.
It's not just something for our benefit.
Yeah.
You do show them, like, this is the pathway that
I'd say on one of your first nights is a great opportunity to bring that out and say, this is what this is going to look like, right? Like, this is the time, like, speaking of the timeline thing, this is how long it's going to take, and this is why it's going to take that long. And so we give them a picture of that, but then we've kind of talked about the benchmarks at that point, but we haven't taught them what the benchmark is. We haven't showed them, like we've said, hey, we're going to have this benchmark of abiding before we step into phase 2. Mm-hmm. So they don't know what that means, right? And so, again, the benchmarks are for us as leaders to evaluate the group, assess the group. Have we done this? If the answer is no, then we need to not move forward.
Man.
Right?
I'm getting hyped, man.
Yeah.
To do this again.
Now you're up. Now you're up on your hill.
Yeah. I am back up. It didn't take that long.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
But I'm so excited. Just having all of these, like, tools and resources and ideas, like, it just makes me so excited because I'm a planner. Mm-hmm. And so, like, being able to plan through, like, here's kind of what our discipleship, our group will look like. Yeah. These few nights we hang out. These whatever. Mm-hmm. So that was me writing more notes. Yeah. And learning.
Well, I think the other awesome thing to see, like, is that these questions brought out some great conversation. Yeah. So, again, if you have your questions.
And or more questions.
Please send them in because they get great conversation going.
Yeah.
So.
And. Yeah. You can't be the only one that's going through this.
Exactly right.
That's what I'm finding.
No way.
That's what we know.
No way.
We all are kind of in the same boat, but no one wants to talk about it. So here we are.
Why I'm so shocked and confused that we don't get more questions, honestly. So there's that. But yeah,
we did it.
We did it.
Those were great questions.
They were great questions. Guys. Thank you to our question submitters.
Yeah, send more in.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Did you get any gold stars this week?
I gave, so Jamie Abera, yesterday we were at a leadership thing and she answered a question so well, she got a gold star and I gave her a high five on the spot.
But hey, what?
Yeah. She was talking about, like, leadership and how we don't allow people in certain levels of leadership until they've been deployed.
What about? She doesn't get a gold star for that. That has nothing to do with our discipleship podcast.
Oh, you're saying for the podcast. Well, no.
Wow, but I didn't know you just hand out random gold stars.
I do occasionally. A discipling gold star. Way to go, right? So another one so these are discipling gold stars. Another one would be our residents went this past week and did their out. So that was pretty cool. Oh. So they did some help and maintenance at a nursing home and then got to interact with the people there and share Jesus. And, hey, why are you guys doing this? Because we want to bless your place.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Fun.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you have enjoyed the Q&A session.
That's right.
And our new studio
decor. If you don't know what we're talking about, you got to go to YouTube.
Yeah.
D3 Discipleship.
Libby and her team.
Yeah.
And Ray.
Yep. We got this thing rolling.
Yeah. It looks great.
Yep.
All right. So, next time.
Yeah.
What are we doing next time, Ray?
I don't know what we're doing next time. We'll have it figured out, though, for you, and we'll go from there. So we had all those questions to get to, so we did that. But, yeah, we'll probably start having some guests back on. Have some conversations in our fun, cozy little studio here that we've now
sit by me on the couch.
Got rolling. So if you get a phone call or an email, please respond so you can come on and be a part of this. So. Yep.
All right. And as always, send your questions or comments or input, whatever you want, to D3 info.
Yep.
It's new, guys. I'm still learning myself. D3 info at newcitychurch.com.
That's right.
Follow us on YouTube.
Yes. Please do.
Click the bell. I don't know what that means, but Ray has said it before. Click the bell.
Click the bell. You get notifications when we put up a new video.
And also, if you are a D3 leader, we've got a Facebook group.
We do. Yes.
And obviously the podcast. So.
Yes. Lots of good resources for you. to feel equipped and ready to go.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. We will see you next time on the D3 Discipleship Podcast.
See you then. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope that today's information was helpful and useful for your discipling journey. We would like to encourage you to subscribe, review, and share on social media. If you would like more information, check out d3pathway.com.